This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
Soon on the Patriots Prayer Network. Thank you all.
America's falling, they all say. Gather the faithful now and pray. The Patriots Prayer. The Patriots Prayer. All the wicks are trimmed, oil is filled to the brim. I have been changing somehow. I'm the radical now. America's falling, they all say. Gather the faithful now and pray. The Patriots Prayer.
What's going on, Patriots? We are, first of all, Eddie here with the Patriots Prayer Network, the Patriots Prayer Podcast, and we typically don't go live at this time. This is an impromptu podcast because we have some really big things happening right now, and I think they're larger than what most people realize. I just spoke to Walid Fairs, who is an expert on all things Middle East. And I also talked to a few other friends of mine close to the situation inside of the Trump administration as well. We're planning a show later where we're going to have some of these folks on. We're going to talk about it, but I want to get in front of this and I want to talk about it. And what I'm talking about, folks, is I'm talking about the Iranian drones in U.S. airspace and the implications of this, both locally and geopolitically, because what it means is that they're, and as far as the Department of Defense is concerned, they know for a fact that the Iranians have a mothership off of the coast of, off of the East Coast, right? So they're SUV-sized drones. I'm sure you guys have heard this, and some people may have laughed it off. Others may have taken it seriously. Others may have thought it was little green men from outer space. That's not the case, folks. And what they're telling us now, what we know now, is that Congressman Van Drew just did something on the Faulkner Focus, and he spilled the beans. And those of you who follow the stories that are happening on X already know what he said, which was that China sold them this technology. Now, here we go again with the Biden administration, who was a very, he failed with what happened with China sending spy balloons over our country. And now here we go again with U.S. airspace being invaded yet again. And now they're saying it's the Iranians this time. If the Iranians have truly invaded U.S. airspace, which is what it looks like has happened, folks, this is an act of war. And it just piles on. It piles one on top of the other. We just saw with the escalation of the war in Russia, between Russia and Ukraine, because of Biden's incompetence, telling them to use long-range missiles. And, so that war is ramping up. It's not cooling down. South Korea has declared martial law, obviously, as people voted it down. Still very unstable in that region. And now it looks like China has helped with the invasion of U.S. airspace with drones. To what end? We don't know. But how brazen do you have to be to send SUV-sized drones into U.S. cities? Are they gathering information? Are they planning an attack? These are all questions that we all want to know. This is very, very serious. I think so much more serious than what most people want to give it credit for. And this could lead to another conflict that I'm not talking small potatoes, folks. This is huge. Geopolitically, this could cascade into something much larger than any one of us can actually realize. And we are definitely on the brink of something. But obviously, the crazy part is that this all happens under the Biden administration. And it seems to have, since Trump won the election, all of these things have escalated. It's like someone says, okay, well, hurry up and do this. I'm not the only one thinking it. That's exactly the case with Ukraine. Now, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. What I'm going to do for you is I'm going to play the interview from the Faulkner Focus, and you listen to what Congressman Van Drew had to say. And we are going to reach out to Damon Galdo, who ran for a congressional seat in New Jersey and who is friends with Van Drew. So I'm going to try to get Van Drew as well to come on and hear from him directly because he's been briefed and he knows the situation better than most. But take a look at this.
Sky that are the size of an SUV over any city, over any state. It's an invasion of our airspace. In focus now, Republican Congressman Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, member of the House Judiciary Committee on the Hill right now. How do you address this at this point?
Well, here's the real deal, Harris. You know, I'm also on the Transportation Committee, on the Aviation Subcommittee, and I've gotten to know people. And from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off, I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly. Now, you know, we know there was a probability it could have been our own government. We know it's not our own government because they would have let us know. It could have been some really glorified hobbyist or hobbyists that were doing something unbelievable. They don't have the technology. But let's pretend that's possible. The third possibility was somebody, an adversarial country, doing this. Know that Iran made a deal with China to purchase drones, motherships, and technology in order to go forward. The sources I have are good. They can't reveal who they are because they are speaking to me in confidentiality. These drones should be shot down. Whether it was some crazy hobbyist that we can't imagine or whether it is Iran, and I think it very possibly could be, they should be shot down. We are not getting the full deal, and the military is on alert with this.
Look, you've given us some pretty dire information just here, and I want to make sure that our viewers are digesting this. Iran has the capability to pull up along our eastern seaboard and launch drones the size of an SUV into the skies of several states, particularly New Jersey, where we know the incoming president has a large home, also in the same county or nearby where some of these drones in New Jersey have been seen. That capability exists. It's possible some of those drones are here. So I have two questions. How are they fueling them? They have to land somewhere. Drones don't fly forever. Why don't they close down the airspace? Yes, it's inconvenient. Yes, it's the holidays. Shut it down. But if you start shooting things and you don't know how they're fueled, that's going to be mass explosions. This isn't like one spy balloon. Congressman, this is serious.
We've got to bring them down, and we've got to find a way to bring them down. I don't know exactly where they're landing. Obviously, I have some information. And again, this isn't just Jeff Van Drew. Oh, let's get on Harris Faulkner's show and say something outrageous. I'm telling you the straight deal from very high positioned individuals who are telling me this. And the bottom line is they're launching them. They are across the country. We don't even have anything like this. Our government and also certainly our hobbyists don't. So think about it. It's not only do I have the information, but it's also common sense. We've got to get them down. We've got to determine how they function, what they do, make sure that we can get them, and you're right, in a safe way. When I say shoot them down, get them down any way that you can, but right now they're probably extracting information. This is a clear and present danger to the United States and to our president-elect, and it's a serious business.
Well, and if one of them happens to fall and they're fueled.
So she's right. At this point, we don't know what is on these drones. We don't know if they're carrying a payload. Someone said right here that Sean, I don't know, Xeno Gaming, you're 100% right. These things could be carrying payloads. Shooting it down and having it crash into a U.S. city may cause much more damage. We just don't know is the real answer. We don't know. The problem is that once again, under Biden, U.S. airspace is being invaded by a foreign country with the help of China, who did it the first time and the second time. Now, I can tell you, I'm in Nevada. Where I'm situated at is on the backside of a mountain. When you look out from my view out, you can see the entire like Vegas skyline and the whole thing. And for years, I've seen large drones flying out there, either around Lake Mead, Sunset Mountain area. It happens quite often. It happens so often and so frequently, most people don't even think about it. But I've seen extremely large drones out there in our airspace. So when they're saying that we don't have anything like that, that's not true. That for sure part is not true. But here's the thing, if we know for a fact, which it sounds like he does, that these things are coming from Iran, they're not doing this for no reason at all. They're not just sending drones in for the sake of sending drones into an adversarial country and just flying around and just having fun and a laugh while they're doing it. No, they are planning something no different than what China was doing when they sent those spy balloons over our country. They are planning something. This might be stage 2. It's not like we don't know the axis of evil runs right through Iran, China, and Russia. And now we have 2 of the 3. And we already have Russia saying that they consider the United States as an enemy after Joe Biden allowed the Ukrainians to send long-range missiles into Russia. Oatmeal brains is going to get us into a problem. One like we have never seen in modern day society. One like you and I have only seen on television screens as we watch the late night news. And we think, oh, that's not going to happen here. That just happens in other countries. How could it possibly happen here? Well, folks, let me tell you, our electric grid is vulnerable. It's 100% vulnerable. And if they were to release an EMP over any one of our cities, it would be absolutely devastating. I have personally have family members in hospital where they're hooked up to breathing machines that function on electricity. This is not a game. This is very serious. And yet, Biden is missing in action once again. Why aren't these things being addressed? I'm sorry, but silence to me is complicity. He still never really addressed the issue with the spy balloons. Now this. I'm telling you guys, my feeling right now is that this is stage 2. This is stage 2. The balloons were stage 1. And God knows what the hell it is they're really planning. Now, just now, I guess there was a briefing that came up. And you're right, Mike. Mike right here. You're right. It is all Obama's fault. If people don't realize, listen, Obama is a joke. Obama was one of the worst presidents to have ever held office in our country. He is the catalyst for the division that occurred in our country with the Smith-Mundt Act, with telling Ukraine to disarm. Friends with terrorists. I mean, best friends. Matter of fact, I remember him doing an interview with, was it Chris Wallace, where he was talking about him, and this is back when Chris was on Fox News, but he was telling him, well, you're friends with William Ayers. He's like, the stuff William Ayers did happen when I was 9. But you didn't approach him and become friends with him until you were 39, when you knew better. And then right before all the pro-Palestinian anti-Semitic gang rallies were occurring across our nation on college campuses, he goes down to Chicago U and meets with William Ayers 6 hours before a pro-Palestinian rally kicked off on the Chicago U campus, where Arthur Long and other real Americans stood by and did not let those pro-Palestinian jagoffs pull down our American flag. And those college kids stood firm right there at that flagpole and said, it ain't happening. All roads lead to Obama. All roads lead to Obama. And God knows how much of our country's national security and everything else has been sold down the river because he's an anti-colonialist. And he believes that the United States is a colonial power. So why wouldn't he? His father came here to figure out how to overthrow the United States. So Barack Obama Sr. I mean, you can look at his own writings. His people were radical Islams. I wonder how they feel about the fact that he's gay. I mean, I know that's not accepted in Islam, but it seems all of these people, when you look back at who they're backing, like good old Tampon Tim, are now allowing the Islamic call to prayer to occur in Minnesota 5 times a day, starting at dawn. Changed all of the symbology on the flags of the United States to 8 stars instead of 5-star symbology. And it happened in multiple states by these unelected committees appointed by Democrats. This is an invasion, folks. And that's what's happening at our southern border. You think it's Mexicans that are coming across that border? And that's it? No, folks. Afghanis, Iranians, Pakistanians, Kazakhstan. There have been multiple people from our terror watch list that came across that southern border, and we still have not found them. So who knows what is really going on? Did they send their ground support over through our border first, and they set things up, and now these things flying over? I mean, there's a lot of what ifs here, and none of them look good. None of them look good. I'm going to play this this briefing that just came out right here by
Sabrina, can you tell me what the Pentagon is doing to address this issue of drone sightings over New Jersey? It's near sensitive installations. The FBI is involved. What is the Pentagon doing?
Sure. So at this time, aware of those drone sightings that have been reported, at this time we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary. We're going to continue to monitor what is happening, but at no point were our installations threatened when this activity was occurring.
Can you rule out that these are American drones?
All right. I'm going to call bullshit. Every facility that this thing was near was threatened because they don't know what it is, and nor do they know what it's carrying. So I call bullshit. And as you've seen, the briefing that was given by the Intelligence Committee to Van Drew that he just did on Faulkner Focus seems to be in complete contrast to everything she's saying right now. This is why I don't trust our intelligence communities. Listen to her.
Or U.S. military drones?
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
Representative Jeff Van Drew, who is a Republican from New Jersey, was just on the air saying that Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones, and that mothership is off the coast of the east coast of the United States. Is there any truth to that?
There is not any truth to that. There is no Iranian ship off the coast of the
Hey, folks, this is the bag of shit these people are feeding us right now. This guy's on the intelligence committee. He was just briefed by people on the inside that told him these things. And then he goes and puts his name on the line by going on the news just now, and reporting it. And what happened? The deep state, the guys that have to let this occur, the guys that didn't launch any fighter jets, the guys that just seem to not care about what really happened with the China thing, are now online telling you that what Van Drew said was false. I don't buy it at all. I believe what Van Drew said 100%. Who goes on record saying that Iran has a mothership in the Atlantic Ocean and has no source for that while he's on the intelligence committee, has no source, has no credibility at all, and he would go in there and ruin his political career by coming out and saying such a ginormous lie? It seems to me like these people, like I said, man, silence is complicity.
United States, and there's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States.
Yeah. Bullshit. I call bullshit. Just like they said there was no threat from the spy balloons that we shot down. Well, who knows how much data those things collected. And if they really it hurts my head to think that, I mean, look, these things are flying into the middle of U.S. cities. There wasn't one fighter plane. There wasn't a freaking helicopter that went after them. They just look. I wonder what it is. We're not the most technologically advanced country in the world. We're not. Because I thought we were. I thought we were the biggest bullies on the block. And these things are flying into the middle of our U.S. cities. Make that shit make sense. Please make that make sense. For this person to come out here and say that we don't know what they are. They know exactly what they are. I'm sure that they could read the serial number on the back side of this thing and could show you a picture of this thing clearer than you're looking at me right now. So everything that woman just said is a complete farce. Everything she said is a complete farce. This is why we don't trust our country. There's no transparency. None. I'm hoping Donald Trump gets into office before any of this can go any further. Any of it can go any further. Because I'm telling you, the clock is ticking backwards. There's a countdown. And believe me, the deep state is speeding up their plans because they know they're targeted. They know they're going to be targeted by the Trump administration, so they are speeding up every plan that they have. Just like how Trump slowed them down, and then when Biden got in office, he had to spend the first week undoing all the Trump-era policies. Why did he have to do that? Because Trump slowed down their plan. They have a plan. This is a guy who says that he likes Israel. He's a Catholic. Did you see him with the pro-Palestinian book in his hand coming out of the bookstore? The book that says that Israel is occupying Palestinian land. Let me tell you something about that, and I'm just going to go down another rabbit hole real quick. Palestine has never been a state. You heard it here. I'll say it again, loud and clear. Palestine has never been a state. It has never existed as a state power, and it's never existed in history as Palestine. That area has belonged to kingdom after kingdom after kingdom after kingdom, all the way back to the Canaanites before Israel came into play, and the Hittites and everyone. But not once in all that history has there been Palestinians. And then in the 60s, when they were going over there and they were taking blood and they were you know how we do in our intelligence programs, but there were people that were actually over there looking 60s, 70s, and in the 80s that were trying to trace the lineage of these people during, I believe, Goldie Meir's time, who said some very profound things. And when she was in power, she said that there will only be peace when the Palestinians love their children more than they hate the Jews. And I think that is a profound statement. But during that time, there was a woman that went over there and did a study. And when she took the blood from those people and she compared it, well, she found out that most of the people in that region, they call Palestine, were actually Bedouins that were from Syria. Only less than 4% of the people that were there were indigenous to that area. And that's a fact. It's a fact that they don't like to talk about. I have a quick little video that I could show you if it's still on here. Someone didn't remove it. No, here it is, right here. So this is, I guess, this would be what Joe Biden actually needs to see, because it tells you the whole history of the region and who ruled it and at what time. And at none of those times have there ever been a Palestine. Here you go. Listen.
All over the world, people are demonstrating to give the land of Israel back to the Palestinian people. Let's look at the history of the land. From 1948 until today, not a Palestinian state. From 1917 to 1948, not a Palestinian state. From 1516 to 1917, not a Palestinian state. From 1260 to 1516, not a Palestinian state. From 1187 to 1260, not a Palestinian state. From 1099 to 1187, not a Palestinian state. From 638 to 1099, not a Palestinian state. From 324 to 638, not a Palestinian state. From 63 BCE to 324, not a Palestinian state. From 167 BCE to 63, not a Palestinian state. From 322 BCE to 167 BCE, not a Palestinian state. From 586 BCE to 322 BCE, not a Palestinian state. From 1004 BCE to 586 BCE, not a Palestinian state. From 1200 BCE to 1004 BCE, not a Palestinian state. From 3600 BCE to 1200 BCE, not a Palestinian state. From 5800 BCE to 3600 BCE, not a Palestinian state. Fiction can be compelling, inspiring, even emotional, but it's still fiction. Don't be duped.
And there it is. Don't be duped. Don't fall for the BS. Palestine has never been a state. It has never existed in history. And when the Jews left Gaza in 2005, they left it in good condition. It had an infrastructure, it had factories, it had a thriving economy that they could have just taken over and continued if they wanted prosperity. But they didn't. They used all the money and all the resources left to them to create a militant proving ground for attacking Israel. And now everybody wants Israel to stop the genocide. Meanwhile, they're yelling from the river to the sea, stop the genocide, while I'm yelling for genocide. And then they want to separate the Palestinian people from Hamas. You can't. There's no separation between the two. The people clapping after 9/11, high-fiving, and just cheering it on were Palestinians. The ones who spit on that girl drugged through the street after she was raped and murdered, those were Palestinians. Did you see the recent interview of the kid that went in and pretended to be Italian, but he was actually Jewish, to ask the people in Gaza about these things? And every single person that he talked to had a pro-Hamas point of view. There's no distinction. And if there is, because I'm sure some things vary from person to person, it's very few. It's very few. So do I believe that Netanyahu should stop? Not until every damn hostage is released. Not until every member of Hamas is brought to justice and executed. That's what I believe. When that happens, that's when this stops. Because if they leave one little seed in the ground, it's going to grow. And we're going to be right back here again, right where we started. Right where we started. And I guarantee you no other country on the face of this earth would put up with people firing rockets over their borders and then take the advice from people to saying, don't fight back. No, the hell with that. Those times are over. But the geopolitical implications of drones flying over American airspace, threatening U.S. cities, because every city that they're over is threatened. And for that State Department person to come out and act like that's not a fact, she is just there telling you what she has to, because that's her job. And that was told to her by some other crony in the deep state, which is why she came out so quick to contradict the statements that Van Drew made. They had nothing to say at all before he came out. They were completely quiet. Why the hell isn't Joe Biden addressing the nation? Because that's what should be happening. If we had a fucking leader, excuse my language, if we had a leader, we had someone who actually cared for the country. We had someone who actually was defending our country, who believed in our values, who believed in our Constitution, and didn't try to shit all over it every damn time he had an opportunity to, who didn't try to throw our values in the trash every time he had an opportunity to, who didn't put lunatics and mentally ill people in his administration like Rachel Levine or the Sam person with the humongous noggin that was stealing women's luggage and putting on their clothes, or the guy had the damn pentagrams tattooed all over him. I mean, you name it, but RFK is a radical choice. Matt Gaetz is a radical choice after your DOJ tried to blackmail him for $25 million to drop a case that the DOJ already did their investigation on and found no evidence of. But you want to question Pete Hegseth? You want to question RFK? You want to question Pam Bondi? You want to question the people that actually want to do the job, who actually care about this country. These are the same people that if you wave an American flag, they see you as racist. There are people that actually today believe if you put an American flag on your car or truck and you drive down the street, you must be a racist, because that is the culture that they created on the left. That's who they have become. And until that idealism is stomped out completely, until that fire is extinguished, none of us are safe. Daniel Penny stood up for black and white and everyone in between on that damn train and was thanked for black people for doing it. But now BLM and his piece of shit dad's out there saying, miss my son, crying crocodile tears. Well, you mean the same son you put into the foster care and abandoned him as a kid? The same one that you abandoned as a man because he was homeless, on drugs, mentally ill. Where were you at? You were nowhere to be found until you thought there was a buck to be made, and those grifters at BLM were standing right next to him, calling it a public lynching. No, what would have been a public lynching if Daniel Penny didn't stand up and do what he should have done, which is what he did? How many of the people on that train would have been accosted by this man? Black people, real victims. The left has gone too far. They have gone too far, and I don't see a way for us to get our country back to a place where we can be proud of who we are until we extinguish that flame completely. 1619 Project, CRT, DEI, all of those things got to go, period. Every damn one of them. Men and women's sports, men and women's bathrooms. All of these things have to be dealt with, and dealt with swiftly, and dealt with hard. I hope Donald Trump doesn't try to win any type of popularity contest whatsoever. To hell with the mainstream media and what they're going to have to say. Donald Trump has 4 years left, and he's not going to get another term. So I hope that he goes in there with a damn wrecking ball and starts fixing all of these damn pieces, all of these unelected bureaucracy that have been, you know what? He appoints 3,000 people. 3,000, I'm pissed off. 3,000 people. That's how many people he gets to appoint. There are over 3 million federal employees in agencies that were created from administration to administration going back God knows how long. God knows how long. So all of those people that are doing a lot of the things that we don't like, creating these DEI, heads of DEI departments at the DOJ and the DOD, and having drag queen read time on military bases and in your local elementary school, putting books on the shelves like genderqueer, those types of committees were put there by the left intentionally. 90+% of your professors in our colleges are Marxists. And you wonder why your children go to these institutions of higher learning and come out dumbasses? They come out un-American. They come out socialist, Marxist, fascist. They come out militant. That's why. And we're federally funding this shit. So until you wake up and until you realize it's time to stop dealing nicely with people who want to destroy you, until you realize your tax dollars are going to fund the demise of the country that you're in, they're going to devalue everything you believe in by teaching your children different sets of values at their schools. Until you really, really realize that and really let that sink in, it's not going to change. It's going to get worse. And it seems to me anybody who stands up against it, they call a Nazi. Meanwhile, they're literally Nazis. The Democrats still practice the same tenets they did when they had their other name called the Confederacy. Confederacy 2.0 is all they are. Everything is based on race. Everything is based on gender. Everything, and they can't even tell you what a woman is at the same time. That's why it makes no damn sense. They have no standards. The only standard they have is that they have no standards. If you stand for something, they won't stand for it. That's all they stand for. This is the most ridiculous time in history. And if you would have told me 20, 30 years ago that people today would not be able to tell you what a woman is and would still be confirmed and sent to be a part of the Supreme Court of this country, I would laugh at you. Ask half of your grandparents about this. They're probably just, I can't believe what's going on now. And it's all in the name of liberal compassion. Liberal compassion. Liberal compassion will be the downfall of this country. Liberalism, the way the left has turned liberalism, will be the downfall of this country. Did you see the thing running the ACLU? The thing that thinks that little kids 2 years old can tell you they're transgender. There are moms and dads out there that are having 4 and 5 babies, and before they're even 3 or 4, they have 4 different kids that they tell you are transgender. Do you think the kids came up with that all on their own? No. 39 states allow your children to be subjected to pornography lawfully. This is a coordinated attack on our value system. And it's not going to change unless every one of you starts sounding exactly like the things that I'm saying right now. Publicly, privately, at work, in church, and yes, even the church. I have had to confront several churches myself. Lutheran Church, the United Methodist Church. And now you got the Pope out there talking about walls aren't Christian. Have you seen the Vatican? Anybody ever been to the Vatican? You ever notice that thing around it? Anybody know what that's called? Oh, yeah, it's a wall. These people are hypocrites. And they've lost their way. They're not what they claim to be. Our Christian churches, supposedly Christian churches, are having women speak. They're having women preach. They're ordaining gay people. They're embracing the world. They're becoming more like the world instead of becoming more like Christ. They're not preaching the entire gospel. They hate Christ in our school system. So glad that Oklahoma had enough guts to put prayer back in school. And we can take a page out of their book. It is not going to get any better until we fight to make it better. And the only way we can fight to make it better is if we stop giving a shit about how they feel about it. That's it. It's the only way it gets better. You got to stop caring about other people's opinions when you're doing what's right. You also got to stop worrying about the consequences of doing what's right. You just have to do what's right. And tell the truth. Don't say it quietly because you're in company. They don't say their bullshit quietly. If they only knew how many of us were around them, maybe they would shut the hell up. The difference between us and them is that we typically are quiet. We just want to be left alone to raise our families and live our lives and do what's best for our community. But they're not. They've antagonized us. Now, they've woken a sleeping giant. And there's no way that we move forward without a head-to-head collision with the people that are trying to tear down the culture, the history, and heritage of this country. It's not going to happen. It has never happened in history. The only way they could do it was to trick us by removing us from social media platforms, by taking us off social media platforms, by shadow banning us. Go take a look. I'm streaming right now on several of the other social media platforms that are out there, Google platforms, Meta platforms, you name it. Go take a look at the viewership on those platforms. And now go take a look at the viewership on the X platform and the Rumble platform and tell me you don't see a disparity between the two. That's not by accident. We have 300 million impressions across all of our channels that we stream. 300 million. So how in the hell is it that when we go over to Google, we go to YouTube, and we look at our viewership, do we see 12, 13, 6 sometimes? It's not by accident, folks. It's not. What you saw happening at Twitter is the same thing happening there. It's the same thing. It's no different. I hope, my biggest hope is that when Trump gets in there, he investigates the media. These POS people that are out there hypnotizing people, making them believe that the world that's painted for them by the mainstream media is what's the reality is. Reality is something completely different. They tell you news in such a way to elicit certain emotions, and they leave out other stories, even conservative news broadcasts. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I've been a part of it. I saw Michaela Montgomery go on Ingram Angle and start talking about Kamala's family past of slavery. They were selling people. They were in the slave trade. As soon as it was brought up, it was like, let's change the subject. They walk up to the line to pretend to be a posture like they're conservative. They posture like they're constitutional. But there are certain places they just won't go. Certain lines they won't cross. We saw that with Bill Barr. When you started talking about election integrity, it's where you lost him. Because I guarantee you the people he's actually loyal to said that's the line that you don't cross. We need to get rid of all this talk about election integrity. So we need you to go on and kind of, take away some of the legitimacy of what they're saying and what they showed on that movie, 2000 Mules. We need someone to speak against that has authority. Bill stepped right up. They are being controlled. And yet they're telling you they're on your side. They're not. Thank God Trump is going to be giving White House press passes out to podcasters. People that are not beholden to anyone, who won't be silenced or censored or filtered. We don't have PR people telling us what we can say and how we can say it. Maurice and I had that opportunity. They reached out to us about a year ago after we sent Holden to the Super Bowl, and they wanted to give us, and we started fighting for the Indians in Cleveland to get their name back, and all this was going on, and they reached out to us and they said, And we'd like to give you guys a TV show, and told us how it was all going to work and all that. And we were excited at first. We thought, oh, wow, man, we're going to get a TV show. This is going to get big. And they immediately said, well, yeah, what we'll do is we'll have our PR people to work with you on how you can deliver your message. And you lost us. You lost us. That's where you lost us. We won't be censored. We won't be filtered. Our message won't change. The fervency with which we deliver that message, our elocution, it's not going to change. We're going to tell you the truth. And if that means losing followers, gaining followers, whatever the hell that is, that's what it is. We are who we are, and we're not going to stop growing. We're not going to stop adding to PPN and bringing in other patriots. We're not going to stop telling you the truth, and we're not going to stop calling out rhinos, and we're not going to stop calling out the mainstream media, and we're not going to stop telling the truth, because the truth is what matters. That's it. Party lines don't matter. Values matter. Reality matters. And what these people are doing is they're pulling the wool over your eyes. They're trying to make you think things are not as they actually are. You just saw it. You just heard this lady say right here that, here, let's do this again. Let's do this again. I just want you to see the contrast between someone who's not deep state and then how the deep state responds. Just take a look.
In focus now, Republican Congressman Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, member of the House Judiciary Committee on the Hill right now. How do you address this at this point?
Well, here's the real deal, Harris. You know, I'm also on the Transportation Committee, on the Aviation Subcommittee, and I've gotten to know people. And from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off, I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear. And again,
Sabrina, can you tell me what the Pentagon is doing to address this issue of drone sightings over New Jersey? It's near sensitive installations. The FBI is involved. What is the Pentagon doing?
Sure. So at this time, aware of those drone sightings that have been reported, at this time we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary. We're going to continue to monitor what is happening, but at no point were our installations threatened when this activity was occurring.
Can you rule out that these are American drones or U.S. military drones?
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
Representative Jeff Van Drew, who is a Republican from New Jersey, was just on the air saying that Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones, and that mothership is off the coast of the east coast of the United States. Is there any truth to that?
There is not any truth to that.
Do you see the contrast? Do you see the contrast? They can't be trusted, folks. They can't be trusted. They do not care about you, and they do not care about me. These are the same people that told you to mask up, stay 6 feet apart, told you you weren't essential, told you that the virus didn't come from a lab in Wuhan, told you that they didn't fund the gain of function research. They put injections in everyone's arms and told you either you couldn't go back to work if you didn't have them. But then when people had all their insurance claims and they tried to go to their insurance companies to get payouts for the problems that they were having, they were told, well, that was elective what you did. It was an emergency use authorization. You didn't have to take it. We'll tell those people's jobs who forced them to take it that it wasn't compulsory, because it was absolutely compulsory. And yet we come to find out that Fauci was working with the CIA during this time. That the president of our country, according to very high sources within that FD 1023 form, was taking payouts for political favors, which he couldn't do. That was only Obama who could have did that. Put all this shit together. Put it together with the fact that he gave his son a 10-year blanket pardon. 10 years. Or you don't give someone a 10-year pardon unless there's crimes that took place within that 10-year pardon. And he gave him time to finish doing his criminal business, because the expiration date of that pardon is in the future. So basically, hurry up, finish conducting this illegal business by this date. So when they tell us that no one's above the law, get the hell out of here with that bullshit. And when she says none of our institutions were threatened by these drones coming into U.S. airspace, she's absolutely nuts. How the hell could she know that when she doesn't know supposedly what they are, who they are, what they carry? So how do you know they're no threat? How do you know that they don't carry EMPs? How do you know they don't carry a nuclear warhead? How do you know what the hell they have? A biological weapon that they're dropping down over top of our cities. What they could have anything. For her to say what she's saying is absolutely asinine. You know, January can't get here soon enough, guys. I'm going to be back on here shortly with Walid Farm. And excuse me, I said his last name wrong, didn't I? Yeah, Walid Fairs, who's kind of an expert on everything Middle East. And we are, in the meantime, going to try to contact Jeff Andrews' office and get comment. So thank you, and look out for another airing here coming by within the next hour or two after I've gathered these people and get that one set up. This isn't like a normal day where we're going to podcast for an hour and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be bringing you this stuff as soon as I find out what their availability is. We will be back on the air. So, guys, thanks for joining in. Thank you, Robert. As always, Truthful Troll. Thank you, brother. Xeno Gaming, we appreciate you. David Swain, guys, listen. If you don't follow us on Rumble, please go over to rumble.com/the Patriots Prayer and click follow there. We can't do this without you guys, man. This is a fact. We can't do this. We just sent Maurice down to Texas. He's down there with Steve right now. They're getting ready to do something we can't talk too much about. But look forward to some crazy content that you have coming with some very cool people. And that's going to be happening within the next few days. So we appreciate you. Look forward to that. And look out for the next Patriot Prayer Podcast coming to you as soon as I can gather the guests together to come on so that I can get some experts to speak to this situation. Guys, have a great one. And I'll be back on here within the next few hours. I promise.
This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
Soon on the Patriots Prayer Network. Thank you all.